Hello everyone, welcome back to Morgan Hasn't Seen. Today we are talking about football, but no, not that football, I actually mean that football. Very confusing, as it always is when you have a British person and an American person
sort of.
the same, well, sort of, I do suppose, North American person on the same show. Hi Jeannine, we're back. It's Morgan Hasn't Seen. I am Morgan, you are Jeannine. And what movie are you forcing me to watch this week for our teen movies series?
Today, we are discussing Varsity Blues.
Now, there may be significant amounts of bad Texan impressions in this episode.
My Texan is mostly just general Southern accent. So
I was trying to
apologies.
practice.
My apologies.
I was trying to practice my Texan before the recording, and it ended up sounding like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards.
Just general random Southern is what is going to come out, I'm sure.
You can tell how accurate I am. However, I'm sure there'll be several impressions of a particular quote from the movie Varsity Blues. But yeah, that is the movie we're talking about today. It is Morgan Hasn't Seen. It is our teen movie series. We talked about Bring It On, the cheerleading movie with Kirsten Dunst last week, and that was a load of fun. This movie was less fun, but better.
Okay.
I think that's fair to say. Would that be fair to say?
I think it depends on the person.
Well, it's another sports movie. I mean, it's more of a typical sports movie. Varsity Blues.
I think that's probably why you enjoyed it more.
It is probably why I enjoyed it more. But I also do like James Van Der Beek. Now, I haven't seen James Van Der Beek in a whole bunch of stuff, but the limited stuff I have seen him in, I've really kind of liked him. And he's definitely one of those that does more of the teen drama as opposed to the comedy. Yes. You know, he's only done a couple of comedy things.
Yeah, he wasn't like a Freddie Prinze Jr., and he could have gone that route, I think, because he had that whole platform with his own series, but he picked more interesting things.
He also didn't go into horror.
That's true.
Like Freddie did.
And Joshua Jackson, his co-star on Dawson's Creek.
See, a bunch of that whole era of people. They did the drama, they did the comedy, they did some horror. Like Freddie Prinze Jr. did kind of everything there. James Van Der Beek very much staying with soppy drama. And he kind of works very well doing that.
He does. And
I can't fault him.
I think he was maybe trying to like subvert some of his Dawson character from the series. You know, he dyed his hair dark and, you know, it was more athletic, whereas his character on Dawson's Creek was more artsy. Like, he was he loved film and movies and was more of a creative kind of nerd type, whereas, you know, Johnny Moxon is like...
Or Moxon.
Mox. Yeah, while he was kind of a more bookish student, he still was like a jock.
He's a backup quarterback for the what's the team called? The Coyotes.
The Coyotes.
Or the Coyotes, as I like to pronounce it, because that makes more sense to me. Like Wile E. Coyote from Looney Tunes.
No. West Canaan.
West
Canaan, Texas.
West Canaan Coyotes, or Coyotes, or... There's going to be a lot of pronunciation walls in this episode, because Texas... That's the only reason.
Just Texas.
Just Texas. But yeah, this is James Van Der Beek playing a backup quarterback on this high school football team, whose star quarterback played by
Paul Walker, R.I.P.
yay, yay Paul Walker. We always needed more Paul Walker on this show,
We
considering
did.
what we've just done. Probably sick of hearing me talk about Paul Walker at this point for the last 2 months. But here we are again talking about more Paul Walker. He has kind of a smaller role though, because he is the star quarterback. Is he called Lance?
Lance Harbor.
Of course he's called Lance because Texas. So there's going to be a lot of stereotyping, I feel like. I shouldn't offend Texan. I have people in Texas that I like very, very much.
Yes.
So, sorry, Texas. But yeah, Paul Walker is the star quarterback who has a messed up knee. Or a messed up, knee. I think it's his knee ligaments. And the coach, who is Jon Voight, who everybody hates because it's, Jon Voight, so he's not the nicest of actual human beings. But also, as a coach, pretty terrible. And we'll get onto that, I'm sure. But he keeps, because Lance is such a good quarterback, he keeps sort of masking over his injuries and putting him back in games when he's not 100% fit, and it doesn't go very well for Lance because of that.
Yeah. Well, same with Billy Bob, another character.
Yeah.
It's like he has like some head issues and he got hit and has kind of a head injury, and he's like, I don't think I should play. I don't feel 100%. And just like Lance, the coach puts him in, and when he's supposed to be defending Lance, he passes out, and so Lance gets tackled and thus destroying his already very sensitive knee and taking him out.
Yeah, so the movie is basically the team versus the coach.
Yes, and just how he kind of beats them down and forces them to do things just for his own kind of personal gain, and yeah, he doesn't really care about any of them.
So I'm interested to know, what is it about this movie that either made you want me to see it, or that you particularly enjoy about Varsity Blues?
Well, the first unofficial Morgan hasn't seen was Remember the Titans. You had said you'd never seen that movie. You said you kind of had this like preconceived notion of like American football movies that you weren't really...
Yeah, I thought they were like Varsity Blues, basically, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, so you just seemed like you didn't really have an interest, so I made you watch it, and then a bit after that you saw Rudy, and you kind of developed an interest in American sports films. So
Well, I've always liked American sports films. I mean, to be honest, most sports films are either football movies, basketball movies, baseball movies.
but you hadn't seen very many American football movies, had you, at that time?
Well, I suppose boxing movies. No, I hadn't. There's a whole bunch of sports, but I feel like those three make the most frequently used sports in sports movies, maybe apart from boxing. I suppose you get some golf movies as well and stuff like that. You get a few pool movies.
Yeah, very exciting
I always
stuff.
like a nice pool movie. And The Hustler's just a great movie.
Hashtag Jeannine
Sorry.
hasn't seen.
Yeah, well, Jeannine might have not seen The Hustler, but it is a great movie.
No, I have seen it, actually.
Well, why are you lying to me, Jeannine?
Sorry, I was thinking of its sequel.
Color of
Color
Money.
of Money.
No,
Yes. No, I have
I
not.
haven't seen The Color of Money either. For one reason and one reason
Oh my
only.
gosh. Okay. Well, we will break you
Now,
of that
the
habit.
co-
But
the Color of Money is a Martin Scorsese movie. The Color of Money is a sequel to The Hustler. The Color of Money is a pool movie
you
starring
haven't seen
Paul
it
Newman
because you
as
don't
Fast
like
Eddie.
Tom
But
Cruise.
exactly,
Well, that's a personal problem.
I have my principles,
Okay, well, I'm
Jeannine.
gonna make you watch a lot of Tom Cruise movies somewhere down the line on this show. There's a whole nice series that everybody loves that you need to watch, so that's going to happen. So deal with it. That's what you
That
said.
noise
That's the
for
noise you
several
made for
hours.
Fast and Furious, and you came out loving that series. So shut up.
At least I recognised Fast and Furious would be somewhat fun beforehand. Did I not? Did I not recognise that that I would
I
enjoy the
suppose.
entertainment
Okay.
of
Well,
Fast and
we
Furious?
digress. We digress. I'm gonna make you watch some Tom Cruise movies somewhere down the line, so just deal with it now. Anyway, reasons
Fine.
why I made you watch this movie. Well, not only is it
Yes.
heavily referenced in our bonus film, Not Another Teen Movie, so I wanted you to get the references there. But yeah, I thought you would appreciate a football movie, as the first movie that I kind of forced you to watch when we actually met was a football movie. And I mean,
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of James Van Der Beek just because I was obsessed with Dawson's Creek. So when this movie came out, I was like all about it. And I just loved the build of it and kind of how it all comes together at the end. And yeah, I think it's a well made, well put together film.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean,
It's, we're putting it in a teen movie category, and people can have preconceptions about the genre of teen movies that are being cheeseball and being silly and
party, and,
party and overly soap opera-y and whatever.
And you get a lot of that.
This is
But they inject it with a semblance of reality and
exactly
some kind of
this is a sports
serious, yeah, some kind of serious issues and things like that. So that's what I always appreciated about this film.
This is a legit sports drama, and it's safe to say that I absolutely loved watching this movie.
Yay!
Now, that's for a number of reasons. One, because I do like sports movies in general. I maybe haven't seen so many compared to some people, but I always like them. They have a certain formula to them, but I particularly like it when, like we had in Bring It On, where the team doesn't win but they win the day.
Yes.
However, that's not the case in Varsity Blues, because it's kind of very much the good people win and the bad coach loses and we never hear from him again.
Yes.
which is good, because I wouldn't have liked any reconciliation with Jon Voight, because
There's no redemptive qualities there to even be like,
No.
okay, he'll come
There
back,
isn't.
he'll like admit to his faults and whatever. No, you don't even want any of that. So you get
to be fair to-
rewarded. You get rewarded in this movie, I feel like, with the kind of
Yeah.
climax of it. So I like
To be fair to
moments
Jon
like
Voight
that.
as well, he plays that horrible coach really well.
He does.
Like, really well. You do not like him at all.
No.
At any point during this movie, he is the worst person
Like when
possible.
he's trying to be like nice to get what he wants, it's completely obvious.
Yeah.
It's so obvious.
And the thing is, I have some experience in, youth sports. Mainly, obviously, my version of football, which I always have to clarify because
Americans
I hate the
are
fact
silly Americans.
I hate the fact that I have to clarify it, but at this point, maybe just people realise what I'm talking about. But I always fear that they don't realise what I'm talking about and think I played this version of football. And no, I did not play,
Listen to his
American
accent. He
football.
obviously did not play American football.
Well, there is American football leagues in this country,
But how
so
popular are they?
getting more popular.
But when you were playing youth sports, how popular were they?
Absolutely unheard of. You either played football or rugby.
Yeah.
That was it. But no, so I have like experience with that, and I'm, involved with like local non-league football, and so I am well familiar with
Coaches.
coaches and some parents of like of these like trophy kids that really live vicariously through their children. So I always like movies about that, where the parents trying to push the kid so far, and the kid just doesn't want to do it,
And
but they're doing it for their parent.
have you
And then
seen the kids? Have you seen those kids yell in their parents' face? I don't want your life.
yes, I have. Which, yeah. By the way, I don't want your life. What a good
I
quote.
mean, that was I think I remember that being like in like a lot of the promotional material, and so that kind of just became like if there were
Thing is,
memes, that was the thing.
yeah. That is
If
for
there's
sure the
anything anyone
memeable moment.
remembers about Varsity Blues, it's My Hero Foo Fighters song and I don't want
Yeah.
your life.
I mean, we make fun of "I Don't Want Your Life," but it's actually kind of legit,
Yeah.
and that's why I like it, because, like I said before, when it comes to movies about parents pushing their kids so far and so far and so far, and to be honest, there's a little bit of that in this movie with, well, that's where that kind of scene comes from. It's Moxie's dad, pushing him to do this certain thing and stay in the town, whatever he was doing, coaching football, whatever he was doing. But that's where that comes from. The whole I don't want your life, but but yeah, I always like movies where there's some sort of drama between the parent and the kid, when the kid doesn't really want to do the sport, but their parent didn't get as
Thinks
far in that sport as
so
they
they
wanted
want to
to.
live through
So,
them. Yeah.
so they want to live through them, and it all blows up, and then in the end, everybody realizes I should just let you live your own life, and it's
Yes.
all nice at the end. Now this movie doesn't end like that with the coach, because this is obviously the coach
Is the
in
problem.
this sense, who is, and I've seen this in my experience too, where especially with like kids, like 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and stuff like that, where the coach is very much like shouty, shouty, shouty.
Yeah, well, like Billy Bob, when
Let's
he has his whole breakdown with the coach, and the coach is constantly blaming him for Lance and saying it's
Yeah.
your fault, you weren't there for him, he freaking
Yeah.
fainted, like he passed out because the coach made him play in the first place, but yet the coach is blaming him for losing his star quarterback. So it like takes a toll on Billy Bob to where, he's like shooting all his like pee-wee football trophies and just kind of
Yeah.
talking about the memories, and he's talking to Mox, and Mox is like, oh yeah, when we played pee-wee football it was fun, and he's like, no, it wasn't fun, I remember getting yelled at all the time. And yeah, so it's kind of exactly what you're describing.
Yeah, and that's a problem that hopefully lessens and goes away. But it is a problem at that sort of level of sports when it comes to kids or younger people. But I always really enjoy movies like that, because I have some sort of identifiable quality there. There's something there for me to say I recognise
Yeah,
that.
and it's
So I always like
grounds it a
that.
little bit in reality, so it's not so
Absolutely.
so like vapid, fake kind of teenage life. There's actually some like
No,
real stuff there.
and as as enjoyable as Bring It On was, I have no possible
Way of relating to
identifiability
that.
with
Yeah.
with Bring It On.
What? You don't
Um,
put the itch in bitch.
I mean, like I said last week, cheerleaders aren't really a thing here. Neither is, school sports. It's very much, outside sports clubs and sports teams, like schools. And to be honest, I love the way sports in the US are. I really, really love the way it's all put together, and the fact that the schools matter so much, the colleges matter so much, and that's what makes you into a professional. I really love that because it really promotes, youth, youth getting into sport, and I
Yeah.
love that.
That's really
And
cool.
it's less so like that here because we have to go outside to find
Places to do that. Wow, I never
yeah
thought about
places
that.
to do that. It's not in the schools. There's stuff in the schools, but it's basically just like my high school football. I didn't play on my high school football team. I had an outside club that I played youth football with. But some people obviously play for their high school football team. But when you might think of high school football, you're thinking of Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
Or when you think of high school sports, you think of Varsity Blues. There's a crowd, there's a stadium. It's all very professionally looking. No, this was 22 people kicking a ball around on a field with a referee that was one of the coaches wearing a pair of Wellington boots and a whistle. And the field was overgrown. There was no lines,
Oh my
and there was
gosh.
just messed up nets at either end.
Oh goodness.
That's high school football in this country.
I never thought about that.
But yeah, the stuff outside, the organised sports teams that are, actual, not
Legit,
affiliated,
yeah.
they're independent things, are run somewhat like something like this, although there's hardly any money involved in it as opposed to the US. So that's another reason I always like watching American teen sports movies, is because I get to see the great sports infrastructure of teenage sports in the US. So I love that.
Wow, that's really nice. I never thought about that. I like that you have that capability to appreciate something like that that we don't really think about or kind of, I guess, take for granted because it's just how it is here. So wow, I really like that, Morgan. I'm glad you can get some appreciation out of something like that.
Yeah, it's why, like, as weird as it sounds, when I have visited and continue to visit the US, I always love going to any sort of sports stadium setup, no matter if it's it can be a high school baseball stadium, right? But I love that because you would never get anything that looks like that here at that level. It wouldn't even exist.
That's crazy.
And there's stuff that are much higher level. There is, I think, it's why college sports also fascinates me because of how huge it is
Oh
and how
yeah.
much it matters. Because that is also, while college sports matters a little bit more in this country than stuff like in the school, it's still, you're looking at it as kicking a ball around on a field.
Yeah.
where there's nobody caring about it. That
Whereas this is like
essentially,
televised and fully funded and like,
yeah,
yeah.
it's insane. It's insane to me, and I love it. Um, so that's why it always fascinates me. So that's why I love going to any sort of sports setup when I'm in the US, even though whoever I might be with visiting this place, if they live there, might be like, this is just a random, football stadium.
Yeah.
This might be to them a terrible looking football stadium in some sort of terrible part of town at some terrible high school, but it's still better than some professional soccer stadiums in this country.
Ay. Oh, I'm glad you can appreciate that, and now I'm even more glad that I picked this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to go on about a tangent about the differences between sports setups in the countries, but I always find it interesting, and that's why I feel like I like watching movies like this. And I mean the story of this movie as well is really interesting, like I said, because of the idea that it's the team versus the coach, and it's all about trusting the players that they know what they know, and they know how to play this game.
But he doesn't trust that. He just wants to kind of do things his way, and it's just all about power and control, and not really about anything else.
Yeah. Is it Bud Kilmer? Is his name?
Yes.
Jon Voight.
Bud
Yeah. So he's only concerned about his own personal win record.
Yes.
He is not concerned about the well-being of his players or the actual happiness of the team, and that, for me, is a problem, and it's obviously a problem for the rest of the team as well. Which is why you essentially see them rebel against him at the end of the movie.
Yes.
And it's very satisfying to watch, because Jon Voight nearly strangles James Van Der Beek, which is intense. I mean, if Jon Voight was strangling me, I would be afraid, because I would believe that he would want to actually do that.
Right? And you're like in a school, like, for him to just
somebody
unleash that, and yeah, you are not
They would be
you are
put
not an
in
okay
prison.
person. Yeah.
Seriously,
Speaking of the
terrible.
faculty
Speaking.
in this school.
Oh, okay, yes. There is other stuff going on in this movie besides the football, of course.
So we get a very
Jeannine,
interesting
please.
we get a very interesting scene with Miss Davis, the sex education teacher, where she asks for different names for a male erection. And James Van Der Beek's Mock's character proceeds to go off with plenty of examples of words for
Some
erection.
that I'd personally never heard of.
Like, and then, like, I don't know what the point was of that scene was. Like, I guess just supposed to be funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably to throw a little bit of comedy in there.
Yeah, so he proceeds to go on, like, a minute long kind of, like, talk of different
Minute long.
words to call an erection. So that was fun. And, Miss Davis seems a little like, oh my gosh. And then the boys decide to go out to take Lance out. He can't play anymore. He's, his legs all messed up. So they decide to take him out to a strip club to celebrate, because as they're the star football team, no one in the town really cares and lets them do whatever they want, because, this is
even though they're 17
yes,
and 18.
It's a small town. So when football's doing good, like, the football players are like the celebrities of the town. So they kind of just, they give them beer. They let them do kind of whatever they want. The cops don't really get them in trouble. So they let them in the strip club. They're watching this show. And a stripper comes out to do her act. And she's, dressed like a teacher. And she's got a little chalkboard. And she's dancing to Hot for Teacher, and she turns around and it's Mrs. Davis, the sex ed teacher, and they're just like, what? Yeah, so that was pretty funny. Like the look on her face when she sees all her students right there, and she's like completely topless. Yeah.
It is very funny. It's particularly funny just because of the really quick delivery of the line, "Oh my God, it's Mrs. Davis."
And they just start laughing, and she just looks so embarrassed, and then she just, like, as a true professional, just continues on with her routine, and then she goes and hangs out with them after and just asks them,
Yeah.
please don't tell anybody. Like,
But I really like that. She's just like, "Nah, screw it, I'm gonna carry on."
yeah.
And then afterwards, yeah, just hangs out with them and just be all just talking to them normally. I like that.
And they
'Cause
do
that
kind
could have
of hint at it
ended
a little
way
bit.
worse.
I mean, not only is she a sex ed teacher, but they also kind of allude to it, like when she's driving away in like her nice like Mustang or whatever, and Mock says, "That's a really nice car for a teacher," and then later you see why she can afford such a nice car.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that, I mean, that's definitely sort of
So just one of the little
bit
breaks
of
of comedy relief. Tweeter,
Tweeter
he
is
also brings a lot of comedy relief. So I mean,
He does.
Yes, he's great.
particularly in the party scenes when he's kind of the big loutish drunk one.
Yes.
Scott Kahn is Tweeter, and he is funny. He's kind of he's the comedic one of the band of players. Although we haven't talked much about my actual favourite character in the movie, that's Billy Bob.
Billy Bob was your favorite? Really?
Billy Bob was my favourite character because of his story.
Okay.
Is the fact that he does his job in the team so well that he ends up seriously injuring his head. But he carries on through fear of the coach, and you get that whole big emotional scene with him, like you mentioned before, where he's shooting his old trophies because he's remembering that his footballing career has actually been filled with just shouts and emotional turmoil.
Yes. And yeah,
And I
like the
really
way
like that.
Kilmer just goes after him and knows that he can get to him like that. Like,
Yeah.
Billy Bob is a big, burly guy, and to see the coach just like call him a big, fat fucking baby and just pick on
Yeah.
him and tell him it's all his fault. And, Lance got hurt and he lost his star quarterback all because of him. And it's just really hard to like see him get treated that way. So like that's what builds the tension to kind of all get released in this big climax. So that's another reason why I really love this movie. Just because, like you get all that build up, they make you hate this guy so much so that when he gets his comeuppance, like, and everything kind of goes great at the end, it feels really rewarding.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously that big emotional scene with Billy Bob, that's acted really well.
Yeah.
This is not, that's what I'm saying, like, this is a teen movie, but this is not teen movie acting in this movie. This is sports drama acting.
Yeah.
This is legit. I was surprised at how, I don't know, how sort of not cheesy this movie was.
Yeah, it could have gone very cheesy. I
It
mean,
could
there
have
are some things, like I don't want your life, but
Look, sure there are.
but there's some real genuine emotion and like conveying of serious issues, and they're delivered really well and displayed really well, I think.
Yeah, but yeah, scenes like that emotional Billy Bob scene really really is an example of that actual quality drama that's in there.
Yeah. Something else
And
I also go ahead. Sorry.
no, please, no, I'd finish.
Okay. Well, something else I also really appreciated was the Wendell character. Like, he's like the one like
Yeah.
black dude on the team, and me always kind of looking for representation in things. And yeah, like he has a whole kind of monologue where he's talking to Mox, and Mox doesn't really understand like how he's been kind of abused and undervalued in the team, and Kilmer just kind of only uses him for certain things just to kind of get things done, and he never gives him a moment to really shine. And like Kilmer's not going to step up for him and get him recruited by a college, so his mom is the one who's like stepping up and trying to get him into colleges, because no one's going to have his back, because he's just he calls himself Kilmer's black workhorse, because that's how he feels like he's been treated. And for Mox to kind of not even realize this has been happening, so I appreciated that they gave him that moment to kind of vent and have Moxon realize, oh, wow, like this is really fucked up. I'm, the quarterback. I'm going to do what I can to help you and get you seen and, make things happen for you because you're great. And Kilmer's not getting it done. He's just kind of using and abusing you. So I liked that they gave him that kind of moment to give Moxon a wake-up call and kind of get his moment.
Absolutely, and because surprise, surprise, Jon Voight's also a racist.
Yeah.
As a surprise to absolutely nobody. But yeah, I like that as well. That's again, that is another example of legit emotional drama that's true to life that happens in this movie.
Yeah, because it's not something they gave a lot of time to, but they could have easily given no time to it and just kind of focused on Moxon and Billy Bob and their kind of core serious things in the coach stuff. But they took a minute to kind of address that, and I really appreciated that. I mean, because at that time, there wasn't a lot of stuff like that or moments like that to kind of highlight characters of color. So, even though it was something small, I appreciated that they kind of addressed that and made a point to give it its own moment.
Absolutely. And obviously they do pay it off as well. So let's talk about that last sort of climactic moment after Jon Voight has decided to strangle James Van Der Beek.
Because it kind of builds up, because Wendell actually hurts his knee. And so they're about to kind of give him the injections and mask his knee pain.
Yeah.
Like they did with Lance. And Lance, kind of steps up and says, don't do it. And like Billy Bob's like, don't do it. Mox says, don't do it. But, Kilmer's trying to close the door and tell him, and he's really not wanting to do it. And so once Moxon says, hey, if you try to inject his knee, I am out. And then Tweeter's like, I'm out. And all of them decide, yeah, if you're going to do this to Wendell, we're all going to quit. And Kilmer, of course, is not happy with that. And that's when the kind of a whole attack happens. And then he tries to kind of recover and get them to go out with him and try to rally them. But they're done with him at that point. So then it's up to Mox to give an epic, albeit cliche.
Yes, very cliche, but you'd be upset if it
didn't happen.
You'd be upset if it wasn't a bit
so,
cliche.
What did you think of Mox's speech? Did it get you pumped? Did it make you want to be a hero?
Of course it made me want to be a hero. Let's go out there. Let's be heroes.
Let's be heroes.
Yeah, surprisingly legit.
Yeah.
It could have come. It was a little bit cliche and cheeseball, sure, but But
you got a little
pumped.
You got a
little
stuff. Yes, and then they play the Foo Fighters song, and you hear the drums, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember seeing that in the theater, and like, oh my gosh, they're gonna kick some ass, yeah.
And again, I just really love this, standing up to the terrible coach,
yes,
and the team banding together
and doing their own
to
thing.
do that, and doing their own thing, and it paying off.
And Lance, Yeah, and Lance getting out there and getting to be like the coach to fill in because,
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that.
Lance is coaching them. Mox gives Wendell his play that
Yes.
they've been talking about. And obviously Wendell's really sort of thankful about that.
Tweeter
And
gets
this
a
is,
moment
this
too.
is the big game.
Yeah.
This is the championship game. Tweeter gets a moment, and then of course the winning play
The hook and ladder.
is the hook and ladder,
Which is something
which,
you see them kind of trying to do and work throughout the movie, and it
Yeah.
always fails. And then
and Kilmer does not like that play.
he does not. So then to have that be kind of the winning play was a great kind of come full circle with that whole moment. Because you kind of forgot about it, and then when it comes back, you're like, oh, they're gonna do the thing where Billy Bob has to be the one to catch it and then like tackle everyone in his way and get to the goal. Yeah.
Because no one's expecting that.
No, because I kind of had forgotten about, oh yeah, that thing that they were practicing and Billy Bob couldn't catch the ball and kept falling on his face and fumbling the ball. Like Tweeter is literally like gently tossing it to him and he can't catch it. Yeah.
But when it matters with 7 seconds left on the clock in the championship
and it's
game,
slow-mo and Billy Bob's
catches the
tackling.
ball.
He's got 3 guys on him and he makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He keeps charging and he gets there and everybody starts celebrating. And I just like that. It's a very, very satisfying ending.
Yes.
It's this is an example where if the team hadn't won, they wouldn't have won the day.
No.
Because it was all about
doing it their way.
It was all about the team banding together to do it their way. That they know themselves better than the coach did.
Yes, and support
each
each
other.
other.
Very much the case.
And support each other the way he never really supported them.
Exactly. So it's really nice to see everybody get their moment, their little moment to shine. Mox is now the championship winning quarterback. Wendell makes his play. Billy Bob is the winning play after throughout the whole movie he's been the one
down,
getting beat down because quote unquote he injured Lance.
Yes,
Lance is there coaching, like you said.
Finds his calling as a coach, which they say in the little ending voiceover.
Yeah, I love that as well. I always love that. There's when at the end of did that happen? No, that happened at the end of Can't Hardly Wait, which you told me to also watch.
Yes,
which I did watch. That happened at the end of Can't Hardly Wait,
they
which
have
was
the little text showing what happened to everyone.
Text. I always love it in teen movies when that happens so much. But in this one, it was voiceover. It was Lance found his calling as a
football coach.
As a football coach, which is, the correct thing to do for a great player who's riddled with injuries.
Yes. And Moxon still goes to Brown College like he wanted, but he had his moment. Yeah. He had his time to be a hero and do something big with this whole football thing. And now he can kind of go on with his life and do what he wanted to do and not be stuck in that little town. But this movie, while it's... What?
Mox got his own life.
He did.
Because
he didn't want his life. He got his own life.
I don't want your life.
That was pretty good.
No, that was too monotone. I don't know. I'm not going to do it again.
Maybe we can close out with it. But yeah, while this movie was very testosterone heavy, there were a couple females in there. So what did you think of the female characters in this movie? Aside from the teacher. Aside from the stripper teacher.
Aside from the teacher. I mean, there's a touch of romance to this movie. It's not the main focus.
No.
In the slightest. I actually did like Moxie's girlfriend. Like his
Amy Smart.
I did like her. She was nice. Yeah, Amy Smart. It was Amy Smart.
Yes. Like
I
she
just
wasn't
realised it
like
was Amy Smart.
she wasn't like trying to be the hot girl. She was just kind of like regular, everyday kind of. They didn't do
No, yeah,
anything to make her like crop tops and try to make her because they had a girl
no,
like that in this movie, but she.
but yeah, but she was nice. She was supportive. She was, yeah,
And
just
I like that they had
pleasant
her.
character.
They had her call him on his bullshit. Like he's doing an interview and he's like kind of referring to himself as like,
fun.
I'm just one man, and like, I just like to thank.
I want to thank God.
And like, she's like, what is wrong with you? This is going to your head. Like you are such a whiner. Like I love that she would call him out on all his bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and
That's
then we also get Lance's girlfriend,
Well,
played by Ali Larder.
Lance's
Yes.
quote unquote girlfriend,
Girlfriend.
also
Until-
known as the girlfriend of the star quarterback.
Yes. So once Lance gets hurt and Mock steps up to be the quarterback, she kind of just drops Lance and tries to go after Mox. And you kind of
Yeah.
think, wow, this bitch is like a hoe. And she doesn't care about anybody. But then and you get the famed whipped cream bikini, which you will see a very fun version of in Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure, the whipped cream bikini. I mean, I have questions about the whipped cream bikini because this is Texas.
I
and
mean,
it's very
I'm
hot
sure
in
all these
Texas.
places have central air, central cooling, so
I don't think it would have been that cold enough for that whipped cream not to just start dripping all over the place.
well, it was probably shaving cream in real life. But anyway,
Well, whatever it was, it would have ended up in places unnecessarily. But nobody
and,
wants that.
she even had the little cherries and everything. I don't know how those stayed where they were supposed to stay.
Exactly.
Last time
There's
I checked,
questions to
boobs
be
don't
asked.
work like that. But okay. Yeah, so she tries to like come onto Mox, and then you think, wow, she's like just a big hoe who just really doesn't give a shit. But then, Mox turns her down because obviously he has a girlfriend. And while he's very tempted, he kind of tries not to make her feel bad about it. And then she kind of breaks down and reveals that, she's just trying to get out of this town. She wants to do more with her life and she doesn't want to be stuck there. And she feels like, since she can't get out with Lance because, he's hurt, he's probably just going to want to stay and coach football and stay in the town.
Yeah.
She wants to latch on to Mox, who obviously has a future of leaving the town. So it's kind of selfish, but I liked that they at least showed some vulnerability and gave her a reason for doing that. So she wasn't just kind of being some like slutty hoe. She actually had her reasons and, because she just needs to get out of this town. And I like that she had a nice moment with Mox and he kind of talked her through it. And he was just kind of a friend to her in that moment. And she, so then of course the next day when she sees him at school, she appreciates that they had that nice heart to heart. And yeah, so they kind of gave her a little bit more unexpected depth because I don't think you probably weren't expecting her to like be more than just like some girl who's like hooking it up with everybody.
Exactly, because, and this is just another example. We've had 3 big examples now of this movie being legit teen drama, not, cheesy teen movie.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why I enjoyed this movie so much, and exactly why I thought, this movie is such a really well done and put together film. Because it has that. Because in standard circumstances, she's there to do nothing but wear that whipped cream bikini.
Yes, but they actually kind of gave her reasons, her motives, like she's kind of looking out for herself. And that's a bit selfish, but you can kind of see that she's a vulnerable person. She actually does kind of care about
real.
things. Yeah. And the way she kind of interacts with Mox in that moment when he turns her down, like you see that she's actually kind of a real person with feelings and she's not just completely vapid and like,
The characters in this movie are not, standard 2-dimensional teen movie stereotypes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what makes this movie really stand out, is the fact that all the characters, maybe apart from Kilmer, who is kind of a two-dimensional villain,
Yeah.
but all the teenagers, all the high schoolers, very much are complicated characters, true to life characters, and they are real feeling characters. And sure, while there's a bit of over dramatization and some sort of cliche towards the end, which, yeah, you'd be upset if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't take away from the
No, but this kind of
real feeling complexities of the actual characters.
yeah, like this kind of movie needs moments like that. And I mean, in the end, it is still a teen movie, so you got to have some of those silly kind of stereotypical
Sure you do.
elements in there. But they did inject a lot of kind of realism and serious issues and some depth of character that maybe you weren't expecting. And so you can kind of really appreciate that.
Isn't there even like the voiceover that's kind of like after, I think it's after the celebration, when Moxie's doing the voiceover, and he sort of looks at everybody's stereotype. I remember one line being, Tweeter drank some beer because
Tweeter
drinks
drank beers.
beer.
Yeah. Billy Bob cried because Billy Bob
Bob cried because that's what he does. And
Tweeter
there is that element to it. Everybody has their own
Yeah.
thing, but I suppose that's in real life as well. Everybody has their own thing, but there's also a lot more emotionally going on.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Tweeter, he's kind of like the least emotionally.
Yeah. But even in
he
that
kind of just wants to party and play football.
But even in that moment, like when Mox threatens to quit if they like inject Wendell's leg, Kilmer says, "Okay, we don't need you. Tweeter, you're going to be the quarterback."
Yeah.
And Tweeter's like, "No, I won't do it. I won't do it."
Yeah.
So like there it's with just a little bit, at least you get him kind of actually knowing when to pick his moments and actually give him some integrity in a moment. So I liked that at least. But yeah, like for the most part, he's kind of comic relief. But then when the moment called for it, they did give him some integrity.
Yeah, definitely. And I really liked that as well. It reminded me a little bit, even though it's not the same really at all. It reminded me a little bit of the sort of towards the ending of Rudy, which we mentioned before, when the team all lays their jerseys down in the coach's office and says for Rudy,
Yeah.
basically saying, we're not going to play unless you put Rudy in the team.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that. It's a case of we're not going to play if you do what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So I really like that. Although not as emotional as the end of Rudy, I don't think. I think I actually shed a tear at the end of Rudy.
No tears for Varsity Blues.
Just because the guy's got so much heart. He's got so much heart, and he makes the tackle, and he's only like 5'0". And it's a little Sean Astin.
Yeah, he's so adorable.
And it's been his dream for his whole life, and
Yeah.
But that's that movie. That is not.
Yeah.
That is not this movie.
No tears shed, but still some very deep emotion, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, I really, really loved this movie. I will go back and watch this movie all the damn time.
What? Okay.
Seriously, I wasn't expecting any of these teen movies that we're doing or have done to be like, because I like some teen movies for sure, and some coming of age movies and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting one of them to be very high on my favourite list in that genre. This one now is.
Yeah. Well, good.
Probably because it's got the sports element to it.
Yeah.
But I suppose you could put it in either. You could put it as a teen drama or a sports movie, and to be honest, it's pretty high on both of my lists of those now. So, yeah,
Yay.
I really did like this movie, and there wasn't really anything that I didn't like because all the cheesy stuff was complemented with true to life stuff,
Yes, there was a good balance.
and it was a really good balance, and it just worked really well.
Well,
All
you're
round.
welcome, Morgan. You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Jeannine, for forcing me to watch Varsity Blues.
I don't know that you'll feel the same about our next pick, but
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what our next movie is,
So-
what the movie we're doing next week.
so we'll save the fun for the end of the series.
Okay.
So we'll still stick with a little bit of drama and go
Okay.
with Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions, which stars
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Gellar?
Ryan
Yes.
Phillippe, Reese Witherspoon, who were either dating or just married at that time. I think they were maybe like seriously dating at the time.
Okay. So, not a sports movie,
No,
but a teen drama,
teen drama.
a teen romance drama,
Yes.
not a teen sports drama.
No sports. In
So
this
so
one.
far we've had a teen sports comedy and a teen sports drama. We are not doing sports any longer.
No, we are not.
We are now in teen romance drama. It's probably going to be the soapiest one, isn't it?
Yes, it's very soapy. Which I do believe it's based on a
Okay.
book or something. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, there you go. That is what we'll be doing next week. Or Morgan hasn't seen Cruel Intentions. Will I enjoy it anywhere near as much as I enjoyed Varsity Blues?
Probably not. But hey, it's
Who's to
also
say?
very heavily referenced in Not Another Teen Movie. So
There you go, and that is why we're doing. That is why we are doing these particular movies. We will have one more movie after Cruel Intentions before we do our bonus episode on Not Another Teen Movie. But I'm getting more and more excited for Not Another Teen Movie because, I mean, I actually kind of really like the first Scary Movie.
yes, I think Not Another Teen Movie is one of the better done spoofs out
Spoof.
there. And I mean, it's got Chris Evans and he is so good.
It does have Chris Evans in, which helps significantly.
And the way that it spoofs, like, you know, all the, because like teen movies are littered with cliches, so it's rife, like
Yeah.
perfect for a spoof. So like all the things that you're gonna see in these movies, how you see them replicated, like even they take 80s movies, they take like, you know, the 16 Candles, the Pretty in Pinks,
yeah,
the Breakfast Clubs, all
which
of that.
I have seen because
Yes.
when it comes to 80s teen movies, I'm very familiar.
Yeah.
It was this era that we're doing right now that I was not at all familiar with. But and like I said, that's why I really like the first Scary Movie, is because obviously I'm very familiar with all the stuff
Yeah.
that's being spoofed in there.
So I will get you familiar with all the stuff that's being spoofed in here. And you actually kind of see some characters, like actors who appear in other teen movies, like appear in another teen movie. You get like the little brother from Bring It On. You get Billy Bob from this movie.
Billy Bob's back.
Yes. Playing like the same character, Reggie Ray.
Billy Bob's back. I'm very happy about that.
So, I mean, you
Truly
get
the
kind of
best
all
character.
those same beats of characters. So it's going to be really fun, I think.
Well, there we go.
And we didn't talk about
That's,
Bacon.
Bacon, Billy Bob's pig that he takes everywhere.
Shout out to Bacon.
Shout out to Bacon, because, you know, it's Texas, and in Texas, people carry their pet pigs.
Yes.
Do they? I don't know. Am I stereotyping again? Sorry, Texas. Texas is a very easy place to stereotype. It's like France or Britain or, you know, Russia. Very easily stereotypable.
Yeah. Hats and guns and
To
Yeah.
be fair, there is hats in this movie. Tweeter wears a cowboy hat.
He does.
Billy Bob shoots his trophies
Yeah.
and carries a pig. And everybody speaks in a really strong accent that clearly hardly any of them actually speak with.
No. Lie down.
Especially James Van Der Beek.
Because I don't want your life. So, you know.
And football, of course, football is big in Texas. It's the biggest of the 4 sports in Texas, right?
I would think
I feel
so.
like there's a little. Obviously, there's 3 NBA teams in Texas, but I still don't think it's as big as football is in Texas. I don't think baseball's huge in Texas. I mean, they have the Rangers and the Astros, obviously, but I still think football probably holds
The title
the
of them.
title
Yes.
in Texas. Although I don't know, maybe any Texans listening, is football your biggest sport, or is it one of the others? Maybe you like golf, but I feel like golf courses in Texas are just desert.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe that's more Arizona,
Maybe.
New Mexico. I don't know. Well, I do know the geography of the southern western states of the US. Guys, that is it for another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. We've been talking Varsity Blues. Jeannine, what have you got going on? Where can people find you? Yay.
You can find me at Jeannine the Bean on Twitter and Instagram. You can check out my Patreon at Jeannine LC on patreon.com. I have a tea shop, G9 Design on TeePublic. Get yourself some Morgan Hasn't Seen merch if you want. You can check out my articles, Machine Mondays, every Monday on triviasd.com. And yeah, you can see me being Jeannine the Machine on the Movie Trivia Schmodown. Check out the channel Movie Trivia Schmodown on YouTube and like and subscribe and do all the things.
Will you be doing an entrance where you dress up as Mox?
No.
Why? You could come out to the Foo Fighters song Hero
Could.
and shout, "I don't want your life,"
I could.
into the microphone
I could.
or in your opponent's face.
I could. I'll hold that on reserve for.
However, you would have to pick the correct opponent to shout, "I don't want your life," to make it the funniest it could possibly be.
I'll think
Let's
about
have
that.
a think.
I'll think about that.
Let's have a nice think who the funniest Schmodown competitor to shout that
I don't
to
want
would be.
your life.
Tweet at us. Tell us who would be the funniest Schmodown competitor to shout, "I don't want your life" at.
Yes, do it, please. Let us know. I do actually
Guys,
have a.
you do.
I do actually have a Schmodown entrance plan for another movie in this series. So once we get to that, I will maybe. I will
there you
maybe
go.
discuss that. So we'll see.
Oh, well, there you go. Tease. All the tease. We like the tease. Guys, you can find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Use the hashtags Morgan Hasn't Seen and hashtag It's a Wonderful One. Of course, this show is found on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. That is why you have to go to It's a Wonderful One on Twitter and not Morgan Hasn't Seen on Twitter, because it's a part of a system of things. There's 2 shows. It makes sense, right? Does it make sense, Jeannine? I think it makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
I don't know why so many people are confused that there's more than one show under the banner of It's a Wonderful Podcast. I'm not confused. I promise, I am a little bit confused. You can also find me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in the, because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
Or on Instagram at just the Purple Don. find the show on Apple Podcasts, where you can leave your rate and reviews and get us up on the listings and such there, because that helps a lot, and we'll be ever thankful for you for doing that. But we are also on Spotify, on Podbean, Castbox, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of others where you can find your podcast. And yeah, actually legitimately tweet at us and let us know which Schmodown competitor you would like to hear Jeannine shout, "I don't want your life" at the most. I think that's a fun thing. I think that's a very fun thing to do. That is it for my plugs. Of course, check out It's a Wonderful Podcast. Jeannine was on the last episode of It's a Wonderful Podcast, to which she is also frequently on, and we talked about, a very special movie, and yes, all the yes for that one. But check out It's a Wonderful Podcast every Friday, this show every Wednesday, and that's going to do it. Until next week, where we have Cruel Intentions about what movie we're doing. That wasn't a very good outro at all, was it?
It's okay. It's okay.
We have intentions that are potentially nasty. I think the movie would be better if it was called Nasty Intentions.
Yeah.
Because I prefer the word nasty to the word cruel.
Oh, goodness. I think that's a wonderful place to end the show.
Yeah, that's a great place to end the show. Until next week, guys. Let's do it, Jeannine. We're going to end right correctly. We're going to end right. Are we going to end right? We're going to do it. 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Yeah.
I don't want your life.